Hi, my name is Molly. I'm a florist at Sweetpeas in Toronto, and I just wanted to show you a few tips this morning on designing bouquets and arrangements at home. So to get started, just make sure you have all your tools handy. Best thing a florist needs is a good pair of snips, shears that will cut through tougher stems, woodier stems, as well as the softer ones, a pair of scissors, and this is florist waxed thread, but any type of thread or twine will do. So just make sure those are handy. Choose the flowers that you want to use. I'm doing today a European Hand Tied Bouquet of wild looking flowers. It's January right now, so we don't have wildflowers available, but there's a lot available that's wildflower looking, so you can still get that look in the middle of winter. So often when you get flowers, they'll have leaves right up the stem, and to do especially a bouquet or any type of arrangement really, you need to clean those leaves off. So I've already done that, but with your fingers you can just strip the leaves off the stem, or if they're a little tougher you can sometimes use a knife and just get the leaves off by doing a gentle motion like that. Okay, so you want to choose, in a European spiral hand tied, you want to choose a central flower to work around, and I'm going to choose this solid dago to start with. So that will just act as our center line, and everything else will spiral around that. So I'll show you what that means and how that works. So you'll just go through your flowers. This is white wax flower, and basically tap it off your shoulder, put it to the bouquet. That tapping off the shoulder just makes sure that you have it on the right angle when it goes into the bouquet. So each piece that you put in, tap it on the shoulder and put it in the bouquet. You'll have to adjust things a little bit up and down, but basically all your stems, you're wanting to go in the same direction. Each time you put in a stem, you want to turn the bouquet about a third of a turn. So tap it on the shoulder, put it in the bouquet, and about a third or a half of a turn. And just to get some bulk going, I'm going to use quite a few stems of this wax right now. Tap it on the shoulder, put it in the bouquet. All the stems are spiraling in the same direction. You'll get to see that more and more the more stems are added, but tap it on the shoulder, put it in the bouquet, each time about a half to a third of a turn. Okay, so moving on, I'll add more of the solidago, and again, tap on the shoulder, and just to get it even, turn about a third of a turn to a half of a turn, add another piece, tap it on the shoulder, and you can really start to see the spiraling of the stems. So just keep adding that, and it's getting a really nice wildflower look going. And these are flowers that are available pretty much year round, so even if you live in a cold climate like we do, you can get a nice fresh wildflower look all year round. So there I've got nice body of the bouquet going, nice spiraling of the stems started, and I'm ready to add a few of the form flowers. Form flowers are more a larger flower that's going to give you contrast between the sort of fluffier, softer flowers. So I'm going to add Gerbera daisies and the hydrangea. And this is where your placement gets a little, you have to use your eye to figure out what placement makes sense to balance the bouquet. So again, tap it on the shoulder. You want it to go in on the same angle as the other stems. You may just need to turn it a little bit. You might need to tip the head a little bit, and then a third of a turn. Place your next one. Oh, sorry, tap it on the shoulder. And the last one. You want to vary the height of them a little bit. You don't want them all at the same height, so I'm going to pull this one down just a little. Just makes the bouquet a little more interesting. And this is where you can just start adjusting the heights of things, pull some of the filler in front till you're pleased with where they're positioned. Okay, so adding the hydrangea now just gives it a nice bit of bulk. Same thing, tap it on the shoulder, stems go in the same angle, third of a turn. Next one, tap it on the shoulder, third of a turn, last one, and they just go nicely tucked down at the base of the bouquet. I'm just turning it now and adjusting things a little bit, just so everything is where I want it to be. Okay, so you're ready to start adding your greens now. I've got salal prepped here, just in little pieces, clean stems, about 3 or 4 leaves at the top of each, and start adding that in the same way. So stem goes on an angle, just adjust the leaves so they're all facing the way you want them to, about 1/3 or 1/4 of a turn. Next stem, in on an angle. And this just gives it a really lovely collar, fills it out. Push them up a little bit from underneath. You want the leaves to really be a base and a collar and a foundation for the bouquet, not start interfering with the flowers. So just keep them low. And again, everything going on the same angle, going in the same direction with the stems. And I'll show you in a minute why that is so important in addition to the look of them. So just keep turning and adding until you're satisfied that you've got a nice collar going. Maybe just another piece on this side. And that's looking pretty full to me. Nice and fresh, fairly natural looking, and nice spiral still on the stems. And one of the reasons that spiral, keeping it so uniform, is important is if you want to add or take away a flower or even move a flower, you can do that because all the stems are going in the same direction. There's not a crisscrossed web under there. So what I can do is I can take a flower out and I can actually insert it somewhere else. You have to keep this hand fairly loose, so keep a loose grip, and because there's not a complicated web of stems under there, the flower goes in quite easily into its new location. So now you're ready to tie it off, and there's one other little trick here. If you want to use a clear vase that looks nice, is you can wrap the stems in some leaves. So I've just taken some of the larger leaves off of the salal and wrap one around. Usually you can just use 2 large leaves wrapped around the stems, just like that. And take your, in this case, wax thread, but again, any twine, any string will do, even a piece of ribbon, and wrap it around the leaves 2 to 3 times. And then you can lay your bouquet down on the bench and just snip the thread and give it a little tie. Snip the ends so they're not trailing. So there you've got a nice finish on tying off the bouquet, and you're ready just to snip your stems at whatever height you want. I'm using this vase, so I can keep a fair amount of length on my stems. So just gauge that. You can just put it up next to the vase, see where you want the bouquet to sit, and then cut your stems accordingly. So best to cut flower stems always on an angle, and I'll show you with the hydrangea, best to cut it on an angle and then snip up the stem a little bit. Hydrangea, the word comes from hydrate, very thirsty flower. Always cut it up the stem as well to make sure that it's getting enough water. Best to cut everything on an angle, and just make sure the hydrangea have that extra cut vertically up their stem. So here's one more hydrangea, and up like that. And you're ready to go in your vase.